Talking financial organization and a professional practice does not have to be boring. Are you ready for a few money in, money out ideas? It's Susan Gunn coming directly to your head to make you think. Can you handle the truth? Because she is known for being energetic, laughs a lot, and gives honest, sometimes direct, but always practical advice. It's time now for Money In, Money Out.
It's been a few busy weeks since we last met. Many of you have called needing help organizing your QuickBooks or your financial protocols. It's been wonderful just to hear your voice. I have mostly worked from home, anyways, except when speaking. So being here truly isn't anything new. It's just not having that people contact. If your practice has gone back to work, then you're having people contact. But those lonely souls like me and my guest today are longing for people contact. Being here this long without leaving to speak at a convention or study club is truly new. Some days I feel I have this overwhelming feeling like I should be packing a bag, getting ready to go somewhere. It's actually pretty funny. And yet, somehow the COVID-19 cases are spiking again. Oh my gosh, Texas is under a mandated mask order to try to help bring these spiking cases under control. A friend of mine gave me a couple of masks and I bought a few more at an alterations shop nearby. In fact, I'll tell you, if you have an alterationist that has a shop nearby, you'll probably want to check them out because I bet they're making masks and they could make some really cute ones. I have a feeling this is going to stick around for a while. This alterationist that I went to is custom making masks, and I bought quite a few cute ones. That way, when I come in from being outside, I can throw my mask in the washing machine to be cleaned, and I'm done. And I've got others that I could just pick up when I go out. A colleague of mine made masks through Zoom with her niece. Doesn't that sound like fun? And as the past few months have gone by, so many of my colleagues and I try to stay in touch with each other almost weekly. It was fun to see the mask that she was creating and the pictures of her niece really getting into it. This colleague of mine is amazing on a lot of different levels, by the way. I mentioned her in one of my recent podcasts, and as I said her name, I realized, I need to get her to share some valuable information with the audience because she's got some. Andrea Greer is joining us today, and she wears many, many, many hats, with, of course, the most valuable one being a grandmom. Her background is over 28 years in dentistry. That's a long time, you guys. As a dental assistant, she's kind of played the ropes. A dental assistant, hygienist, an office manager, a dentrix trainer, a practice management consultant, and a speaker, a really good speaker. Different from the variety of all those hats, including the grandmom hat. Andrea is the expert in redefining workspace flow. She helps her clients create a space that maximizes their creative energy and provides practical solutions. She also helps her friend try to figure that out in her own study. And so say hi to Andrea. Andrea.
Hi. Thank you so much, Susan.
I am very excited to have you join us today because, I've gotten a lot from you. And so if I've gotten a lot from you, I know you have a lot to share with audience that are probably going through the same thing.
Yeah,
And
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. And you're a fellow Texan. You're in Austin, so
I
you're
am.
also under this mandated thing.
Yep.
In the beginning of our shutdown, so many people across the world, including me, started cleaning out closets and purging junk. Andrea has seen my office. It works for me. But when someone else said, "You work in this?" after they saw my space, I thought maybe it was probably a great time to do something about it. And boy, has it been a work in progress. And Andrea, you've been such a great source of encouragement for me. She actually sends me text messages. How's it going? Just to check in and to keep me on it, I think. So if it's time for you to be coached, then Andrea's got some solutions for you. So many people have had to work from their home suddenly. I mean, seriously,
Mm-hmm.
whether you're a dental practice, which is mostly our audience, but this is going to apply to any home-based business now. With the initial setup, they may not have had an optimal answer. I mean, I have a friend that's working, her husband's working out of the living room where the grand piano is. So, it happens. On your website, Andrea, you tell us a story about your own office. Tell me about
Mm-hmm.
that story.
Sure. Thank you so much. So, I really struggled. It's a tough thing. I was so excited to launch my business. After so long in dentistry, I knew I had a lot to offer, and I launched my business as a practice management consultant at the beginning of 2018. So it's been 2.5 years. And I was very excited. I had actually just purchased the condo that I live in, and it's a 2-bedroom condo. And that second bedroom, I had my guest bed in there, and I am a quilter. That's what I do for my hobby, is quilting. And so I had that room kind of dedicated to the guest bed and the quilting stuff, because there's a lot of stuff that goes along with that. I have a lot of material, fabric. And so I set my office up in my living room. And, I got a cute desk, and, I got a little lamp, and I set everything up, and I, hung a picture in front of me, and I really was excited to work there. And I worked there for a couple of months. And over those months, things started really dragging. And I realized that I was really struggling. And with my creativity, I felt like, it was just like so hard to write out an article. And it seemed like I could bang out an article real quick, within just a couple hours before that. And then all of a sudden it just became really difficult to do that. And I just didn't like going. I hated coming downstairs in the morning and sitting at my desk. And I thought, well, is it because I have a couple of things laying about. And so I focused on making sure every day that I was very organized, and, my space was cleaned off. And I finally realized that I didn't like the way I felt sitting at my desk. And what I realized is that it was because I was facing a wall. And
Mm,
I had that desk set up so that, because it was against the wall, there really is no other way to set it up in my living room. And so because I was facing that wall, that physical barrier that was just a couple feet in front of me was creating a mental barrier. And as soon as I, realized that, I was like, okay, I have to figure something out. And I started spending a lot of time just looking in this second bedroom. And I started doing some math, Susan. This will be your favorite part, right? I started, thinking about, okay, how many nights does somebody actually use this bed? Now, understand, I loved this little bed. It's an antique. It was given to a friend of mine from a family member, so it's like over 100 years old. Farmhouse style. It had lots of chippy wood on it, and I had an old quilt on it, a hand-me-down quilt that was very special to me. And I loved it, and everybody loved it. It was always a comfortable bed and that kind of thing. A lot of friends stayed there when I was sick. It was just very, very good. But I realized, you know what? I'm holding this room for people who are here only a couple of nights a year. And yet I'm sitting at my desk every day, Monday through Friday, and sometimes on the weekends. And I'm not really showing my work the honor that it deserves, because I'm prioritizing a room and holding a room for 3 or 4 nights a year when I'm trying to work every day. And
right.
so
Yeah.
I really that helped me to really be able to release the sentimental value of that bed, and be able to let it go and allow the room to be dedicated to my office. And the answer I came up with was, I moved all of my sewing stuff downstairs, and it's a much better setup now because I have an entire closet dedicated to just my quilting stuff, which is fabulous. And then I bought an awesome, super cute, very feminine, all me, very much me, pink velvet couch that folds into a bed. And
Oh
it's
my gosh.
perfect. And that became the second piece of furniture in my office. So I had my desk, and which is now facing the room. I have my back against the wall, and the desk is facing the room, and facing the window, which is nice and bright and the best view in the house. And I have my pink couch that I'm sitting on right now as we speak. And it's just perfect. I can enjoy my coffee. I take phone calls. It's sometimes I'll grab my computer and just sit on my couch and work. I mean, it really truly is the perfect setup for me.
Yeah,
So,
we were talking about this yesterday, and um, I thought as you were saying, facing the window, I have windows that I look out. I'm very blessed. I have two corner windows where my study is. It's a corner,
hmm
and but when you said that, I went, I'm facing the closet. Okay, maybe I
mm,
need to turn my desk a little bit. So I'm
hmm
thinking about it. I'm still strategizing. You
sure.
know, you touched on something that's probably the hardest thing in reorganizing. It's the purging.
Oh yeah.
It's the I in fact yesterday when I was, you motivated me again. And
Yay.
I only have to watch an episode of Hoarders before I
Oh,
really
my favorite.
before I start going, okay, I really need to do something. I I was thinking yesterday, maybe I should rent a pod again
Uh-oh.
and move everything out and then just put in what I truly need and what I truly want.
hmm
That's a little extreme, but
hmm
the purging, Andrea, it's so
It's
hard
so
because we
hard.
have emotional attachments
Oh,
to
so
stuff,
much. Yeah,
and
we
it's just
do.
stuff.
We do.
How do
You know,
how do we work through that?
yeah, you're first of all, you're absolutely right. And it's interesting because so many people tell me that oh, I can't stay organized. I really struggle to stay organized. And what I've come to realize over the years of both myself and family and helping clients and colleagues is that the organization would be so much easier if there was just less stuff,
Yeah.
right? And it's not so much that the organization is hard and hard to keep up on, it's the purging that's hard. And you're right, it is because of the sentimental value. And the one of the reasons why I love that show Hoarders that you just mentioned is because it really, for the years that I've watched occasional episodes, it's really shown me that many times there are psychological, and especially in cases of true hoarding, there's a lot of psychological stuff going on behind that. And oftentimes that is due to trauma in somebody's life, a life event that was very traumatic, you know, oftentimes is what triggers that. And I will tell you that that is way outside of my purview. That is a whole nother level
Right.
of
Yeah.
trying to
Well,
hold on to stuff, but it definitely
that's
comes into play.
it's a factor of the OCD, the
Yeah,
obsessive
for sure,
compulsive.
for sure, for
And
some people.
they
Hmm
hold on to things because that's the things is what they can control.
Right,
And so
exactly.
that's the underlying part of that, but it's hard. And I read, oh geez, what was the gal's name that wrote
Marie
the
Kondo.
touch? Yes, thank you. She knew
I
exactly.
knew exactly who you were talking about.
So, I mean, so probably a little bit TMI, but I roll my underwear because of something she said,
Sure.
and roll my t-shirts and roll things, and boy, do they fit so much easier
Yes.
in the drawers.
Yes.
Um, but I loved what she said about thanking the thing that you have an emotional attachment to,
Mhm.
and when you let it go. And I've
Yes.
actually done that a couple of times, and it sounds really stupid, but to say, "Thank you so much for bringing me such great pleasure in when
Yes.
you've been with me, and now I'm letting you go and I'm donating you so that somebody else can enjoy you with such great pleasure too.
Oh, it's
And
100% true.
yeah, and so that's the only way because, you know, I inherited my parents' house.
Mhm.
And so I inherited so many emotional attachment things.
Mhm.
And so it's been really hard. It's been in stages, and that's the stage I'm in now. I'm in the stage of, oh my God, I just want to get rid of all this stuff.
Mhm.
And so that's a good stage to be in. But even
Mhm.
when I get to those things that are emotionally attached, it's still,
Oh, it's
I
hard.
remember, yeah, I remember daddy holding this. You know, yeah,
Sure. And I have a few things like that as well. When I was younger, especially, I was very, very sentimental. But as I grew older, even in college, I started the young adult life of moving all the time, it seemed like.
yeah,
And, I kind of learned how to, let go of some of that sentimental value. But here's something else that's really, come to light for me in the last couple of years. These things change. So maybe today is not the day that you let go of something and you release something for someone else to enjoy. But that doesn't mean you have to hold on to it forever. There may come a day when you look at that and go, you know what, I'm ready. And that just literally happened to me. I have a piece of artwork that's
right.
very random. Nobody else would ever like it. It's like a wall hanging statue thing. It's a long story, but I've always loved it. My kids loved it. No, everybody looks at it and go, why would you ever buy something? I mean, it's just so not me that I loved it, and,
Yeah,
and I just literally a month ago got to a point where I was like, you know what? It's time. I'm ready to let it go. Even though I've
yeah.
loved it for 10 years, I'm ready to let it go. And that happens. And that's okay. It's healthy.
Do with it? I have a lot of artwork too. What did you do with it?
I'm going to sell it because it's a nice
Oh, okay,
piece. Yeah. So,
okay.
and I have other things that, artwork that, my kids would want and that kind of thing. And I'll definitely send that stuff to them. But,
Right.
this is not something that anybody in the family would want.
Well, tell me, because there's lots of us that are out there
Mhm,
that are going, okay, I have found myself working from home.
mhm,
I really need to carve my niche out
mhm,
so that I can make this niche a creative, good space for me to work in.
mhm,
And if they need to purge, tell them the process that you
mhm,
recommend on organizing and moving stuff out
mhm.
and getting it together.
Great. So, one of the challenges that I came across and that I was determined to resolve was, people needed something that was easy to remember and easy to do and stay up and maintain, right? Because organization isn't a one-time event. Organization is something that
Right.
you have to maintain. And the easier it is to remember and maintain, the less traumatic setting aside time to actually do, once a year to do a big purge will be. It'll be ever so much easier when you are doing that
Wait,
maintenance.
wait. I have to do this once a year? Are you kidding me?
No, but imagine all the
No.
stuff that you won't have though. So that's the
Oh
thing is
my
it's not that you're going to
gosh.
be doing this every year and having to dedicate all the time, but
I don't think I'll be
life
through for a year.
life, we accumulate things. And so every now and then we have to look around and go, you know what? I need to let that go. I've got too much stuff here. There's too much stuff on this bookshelf. I need to start letting some things go. Okay, so my process for purging is very. I hope it's simple. Um, it's an acronym, so it's pare down. So it's PARE, pare down, and essentially what you're going to do is gather everything up in your house. So if you're trying to deal with office paperwork, you gather everything up in your house and get it all into one room. Now, if that means that you take it all into your office, then that's what you do. But you can't. It's more difficult if you're going to try and tackle this one room at a time because then it's just going to feel like a never-ending process, and it's like, ugh, I'm starting over every single time, and that's very, very frustrating for anybody. So gather everything together, put it all in one room. And then you're going to put things essentially in 4 piles. Now, this is excluding office supplies, right? So office supplies is kind of its own thing. And I often will have people start with that. But as far as all the files and the paperwork and the magazines and the bills that we need to pay and all the things that come into our office, we're going to separate those into four piles, whether they're in a box or a bin or a pile or whatever. So the first thing, and look back up, the first thing that you want to do is make a commitment that you're going to make quick decisions, because if you agonize over every single piece of paper, you're never going to get through it. So it needs to be quick decisions as much as possible, and they will get easier as you go through this process. Also, this is only sorting. So you're not actually completing tasks that you might come across in your sort unless they're significantly overdue and you have to stop because you need to emergently take care of that. So the first bin that you're going to sort into is the projects pile. So this is anything this is the P of pare down, anything that's related to a project, whether it's an old project that you are continuing to work on, or a new project, or a future project, or hey, I think I might do that project, or whatever. Anything related to that, whether it's hey, here's an article that I want to reference in this project, or an email that I need to send to reach out to that expert for this project, or here's a phone call I need to make, or a piece of paper that needs to anything that goes with a project goes in the projects bin. The second box is the action items. So this is the A of pare down. The action items list. This is any task that might need to be taken care of, put on a calendar for either current or future or whatever. Any task that is not related to a project goes in the action items bin. So if it's a one-off, or I need to respond to a client, or whatever that looks like. The third box is the resources box. Now, resources is anything that you might keep because you might need to reference it, or you need to keep it because you might need to give it to a client, or it's it could be business cards, it could be magazine articles, it could be anything. So that's the resources pile. Now, the thing that I have found almost 100% is that is the biggest pile, because that's the stuff that people don't want to let go of because, well, I might need it someday. And the problem is that we keep these things, but then we never need it. And so we're keeping it, and it's taking up special, real estate, precious real estate in our offices, even though we'll never need it. So some questions to ask to help you decide, do I really need this, is, can I find this on the internet? I mean, I'd be hard pressed to find a resource that you cannot find on the internet, right?
Right.
If it's like an article out of a magazine, do I need to keep the whole magazine, or can I just keep the article? Right. Is it something that's still relevant even to my work? Because, as an example, I started my practice management consulting business 2.5 years ago, but I've really moved away from that and really started focusing on design and organization. And so, do I need to keep reference articles and resources that are about practice management? Probably not so much as much as I used to. Right. So that would be an example. And then the last question is have I touched this or needed it or looked at it in the last year? Many times we've even forgotten we had it, right?
That's a clothing question too.
100%. And so, if I haven't done any, if I haven't touched it, I can't find it anywhere else, or I can find it easily on the internet, maybe it's time to release that, because that takes up precious real estate. Right. And it's amazing how much cabinet space, how much file space you will release and open up by doing that. The fourth box is my favorite one, and that's the eject pile. This is the stuff that we're getting rid of. Now, that could be trash, it could be shredding, it could be recycling or repurposing, it could be anything, it could be a number of things, right?
Right.
So, definitely separate those things out. So if it's a trash item, put it in a trash bag. Have a bin right there as you're working and throw things away. If you have if you want to take stuff to a shredder, I don't even have a shredder anymore. I just keep my stuff in a box and or in a bag. And every year or so, I take a couple of bags to my local Mail and More, and they have, cheap way for me to shred my stuff. So super
That's
easy,
awesome.
right? And there's no reason to have to spend 2 hours making a big mess in my living room while I'm shredding stuff. I'm happy to just take it over to the Mail and More.
That's awesome.
So those are the 4 sections: projects, action items, resources, and eject. And
Now,
then
if they're in a home office, though, they may have to separate. Should they separate first by business versus personal?
right. So for sure. And if they're mixed up, you definitely want to start that separation process. And I would definitely focus on one or the other at a time, for
Okay.
sure. So if you have a mixed, let's say you've got a file cabinet, a vertical file cabinet with 4 drawers in it, and they're all chock full, I would start with, let's say I'm just going to start with whatever's easiest. Let me put it that way. So if you feel like getting rid of personal papers and financial documents and that kind of thing is going to be easier for you, absolutely start with that, because that will give you some successes under your belt that will make you feel good and confident as you move forward with some of the harder decisions.
So mine, because Andrea knows I've done this, I have one, two, uh, so 2, 4, uh, 8 filing drawers,
Mm-hmm.
and I have personal, business, and city stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to purge all of them.
Mm-hmm.
My recycle was full, but huge amount, sacks of shred,
Mm-hmm.
but they were all mixed in together. So I had to do them all at the same time, which was very
Oh boy.
frustrating.
Yeah.
But I was very determined to finish them all. So
Good
now I
job.
have all the warranties
Mm-hmm.
all those thousands of stupid warranties we have for
Mm-hmm.
everything that moves and doesn't move in the house.
Mm-hmm.
It is all in one drawer. And, the next drawer is all my personal tax. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's like trying to organize it all. Then I've got 2 drawers for business inside the inside study, and then
Mm-hmm.
others outside office. And so I
Mm-hmm.
am fortunate that I've got 2 offices. So it was just trying
It's
to
a lot.
organize it and think where I wanted it. And I realized, that's that whole planning part of that you talked to me about. Having access to my business files is what I access the most, not the
Right.
personal stuff.
Right.
And so that's the closest to my desk,
Right.
so that I've got easy access. But
That's right.
it's that whole process of going through it. Probably the biggest thing is not procrastinating.
Yes. It's
It's
hard.
Yeah, and
And
sticking with
especially
it.
like in your case, I mean, you were dealing with decades of paperwork that had never
So,
really had a system of organization. And then you had your own businesses on top of that you were,
yeah,
putting in. And so it was a big
which
daunting task. And that's not
which
terribly unusual.
I'll say it's pretty normal.
Yeah.
I think what I went across was pretty normal, and
Right.
that's why I wanna encourage the audience to stick it through,
Yes.
determine that. It's almost like schedule blocking. How
Yeah.
long have we been teaching that? And
Yes.
I tell people all the time, that's the only way I've written 44 books,
That's
is
right.
that I block schedule my
That's right.
calendar so that I spend a half a day, and I keep my phone most of the time anyway. I keep my phone in the other room. And so, because if I'm at work, I don't need my cell phone, and
Mm-hmm.
I put it in the other room, and I won't answer text messages,
Yeah.
but a couple of times a day. I don't
Right.
look at Facebook, unless I'm having to do something on social media. But it's like that whole determination to block schedule. Okay. And that's what I did,
Right.
during the slow days. The first 7 weeks, just like everybody else, we were scrambling, trying to help everybody.
Right.
And then I started having some slow times. It's like, all right, now I'm block scheduling for cleaning the
Hmm.
office.
Well, and this is
And
this is Susan. What you're talking about is working not just in your business but on your business, right? And so,
exactly.
as practice management consultants, we're all very adamant that that is still worthy time. We many practice management consultants will recommend that team meetings don't be afraid to block production time, because if you do so and you have good, productive team meetings, it will come back to you and raise the production that you're producing and more than make up for the time that you've blocked outside of that production. And it's exactly the same concept. I mean, as business
Yeah.
owners, we know that by setting aside time for whatever it looks like to work on our business, that it makes the working in our business easier and more productive and more lucrative.
Well, it's one of the reasons that I spent so many years going to the coast. I have a timeshare condo
Absolutely.
down there to write the books. And I
Mm-hmm.
I went down in June. I had some time, and it was like, well, I want to go to the condo. And when I
Yes.
was down there, I was like, why don't I come down here anymore and
Right.
work on my business?
Right.
And so that is back in my strategy again,
Right.
to put that back in, because when you set yourself apart to spend time on things that are important,
Mm-hmm.
you don't think about it, because right now we're in the midst of got to have business, got to have business. And for the practices, you guys are just trying to get your patients back in and see them safely,
Sure.
and take all the measures that they can. But at the same time, you're going to need to step away,
Mm-hmm.
and take care of some things. Well, which is why I got a few of the phone calls that were really funny. Was I've had your name on a sticky note on my monitor for months, like over a year month,
Mm-hmm.
to call you to get my QuickBooks organized. And so now that I can't go into the practice, I'm calling you to get my QuickBooks
Mm-hmm.
organized.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were taking advantage of getting
That's
it. And I've
great.
I've actually done a lot of the extreme makeovers, and converting to from QuickBooks Online back
Mm-hmm.
to the desktop version too, which has
Mm-hmm.
been really good for them.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's time to take care of their business and to organize. And this is one of oh, in fact, you told me about something I don't want to let go,
Okay.
about the email
Oh,
organization of using
yes.
unroll.me. Oh
Oh.
my God. If you don't take away anything else, I get thousands of emails every day. And I don't some of them I need to see, and so I never know. But tell us about unroll.me.
Sure. It's one
It's
of my
amazing.
favorite tricks.
Oh my gosh.
So it is free. I accessed on my
Woo!
phone, but I believe you did it on your desktop, correct?
I did.
Yeah. So essentially, what it is, it's so easy. It is incredible. So essentially, unroll.me is an app or desktop website that you can log into, that will, it very quickly and easily allows you to unsubscribe to emails. So we all subscribe to emails all the time. It's to get downloads, it's to get coupons, it's to get, go to the store, it's to do, I mean, thousands, like you said, thousands, right? But we don't all want to be on we don't all want to be on their daily list, right? Some of them are 3 and 4 times a day, and but it's always a pain to scroll down to the bottom of the email and click unsubscribe, and then you got to answer the questions, and then and it's we just end up deleting, and eventually we stop deleting. And then we end up with these inboxes that are just cluttered. It's hard to find things. It's just a mess, right? So unroll.me is super simple. It basically allows you to categorize things in 3 ways. You're either going to keep an email coming to your inbox as a separate standalone email, or you can roll that email up, is that's how they call it, is they roll it up. You can roll it up that it will come to you on a digest as a group of other emails. So you get, 10 emails. I get like 10 emails in my morning unroll.me. I chose morning. You can choose evening. You can choose whatever time of day. I think you can even choose more than once a day if you want to.
Yes.
And it will just gather all the emails that you have said, yes, I want to put all of those into one digest. And then you can quickly look through all of the emails. When you open that digest, you look through the emails, you see what came in the day before. And then you can, if you want to look at them, you can look at them. Or you can just say, nope, I'm good. And just delete that one email. And then the third category is to completely unsubscribe, and unroll.me will unsubscribe for you. Now, when I did this on my phone, it literally is a swipe left to keep it in my inbox, swipe up to roll it up, and swipe right to unsubscribe. I mean, it was, and the first time I did it,
easy.
I unsubscribed from 85 emails in about 2.5 minutes. It was unbelievable. And ever since then, I've been shouting it from the rooftops. And you and I have friends that, it sounds like you might be along the same way. She, her first day that she did it, she unsubscribed from over 400 emails the first time she did it. And now
mine was
minutes,
186.
Minutes. Yeah.
186.
Minutes. That's crazy, right?
So
we get
really
on so many lists.
And one of the really cool things I think is that there's a folder. If you're using like Google, I don't know how it does this in Outlook, but I have Google,
Me too.
Gmail. And so it creates a folder in my Gmail called unroll.me.
Yep.
And all of those are there. So today I have Chick-fil-A and 5 different news feeds and Facebook telling me that it's Lisa Knowles' birthday today. Happy birthday, Lisa. It's like, okay, all these people, the Facebook birthdays and Sonic. Oh, that's the best. Chick-fil-A and Sonic. That's the best. Anyways, but they're rolled up so they don't come in the main feed of my inbox. And it's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. It's awesome.
So you can still access those coupons, but you don't have to see them on a day-to-day basis. And you don't have to look at 10 of them that come in your box overnight. It's truly a game changer for your email box.
It is really awesome. It is so awesome. So that's unroll.me. Now, and I'll tell you, there is a listener that I know will be listening at some point in time. And they had 300, I think, unread it might have been 500 unread emails. So you know who you are.
Oh, yeah.
You need to use unroll.me.
Susan, when I presented this on the webinar that you got that tip, one of the other colleagues that was on that said she had over 14,000 unread emails.
Oh my gosh.
14,000. And she said that on the webinar. So, I mean, it's public knowledge, right? And she was she was like, how do I even start? And so that's where we started. And then I worked with her separately to help her prioritize, strategize how to clean out her inbox. So.
Well, I will tell you, that's an amazing organizational tool.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a big one.
It's not a part of our office, but boy, it sure makes our day go easier, right?
Sure. It's part of the purging before it even has to be purged.
There you go. It is part of the purging.
Pre-purging.
And I have no emotional attachment to those emails.
That's right.
Well, maybe the Chick-fil-A and the Sonic. But hey, so there's also a lot of practices right now that are being sold because the doctors are kind of all done with everything that's happened.
Yep.
And I mean, I've talked to a lot of them who had a 5-year plan to retire, and that's now shortened, or it's now. And they've decided to retire. So if you are purchasing a new practice, or if it's on the market, there are some things that they need to be doing, right?
Yeah. The thing is that we all know that when you're trying to sell a practice, you want to present the best look possible. It's just like selling a house.
Right.
And, I know that it may not bring dollars to the table, although I've had brokers on both sides of that table tell me, or that debate. Some say yes, it will improve dollars, and some that say no. But it's still worth the time, because even the ones that say no, it's not necessarily going to bring more money in. They have all said, but on the other hand, it will help the practice sell faster. So both are good. I'll take either one, right? And that's basically,
Right.
you want to go through. It's paying attention to what we often start to overlook, because we're surrounded when we work in an environment or we live in an environment every day. We stop seeing the clutter. We stop seeing the dirt. It's why we all
Yeah.
do a big house clean, a deep house clean when we're getting ready to have company, right? So
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
does this. It's natural, right? And
Yeah.
and so, but when we're running a business, we have to remember that company is coming every day, and so we
Right.
have to really. It's not just about selling practices, but it's about presenting your practice in the best way possible. I think that it's come to light a lot and really hit home for a lot of people right now because of so many practices selling. And it's a worthwhile venture to take to go through the exercise that we want to talk about right now. It's so
Right.
exciting. Yeah.
Well, it's you talked about one of the strategies in your ebook
Hmm.
about walking through the practice and looking with the patient's eyes
Hmm.
and looking at it from the patient's perspective, which is really was really interesting to me, because when I speak in my embezzlement presentations, when I speak, I tell them to stand to the side and look from an embezzler's set of
Oh,
eyes
sure.
on where the areas to steal would be,
Sure.
and to take notice and to start
Hmm.
doing some things that maybe would tighten up their practice from that perspective.
Right.
But so helpful to stand in a corner and look through your patient's eyes,
Hmm.
or a potential seller. You
Sure.
know,
Exactly.
when somebody comes in, how many times do we have to hear that first impressions are really valuable?
Right.
And so when somebody comes into your business, which is what it is, what's their first impression?
Right. And we only have 7 seconds for that real first impression. But I really I found another statistic that I thought was phenomenal. And it says that within 90 seconds, somebody has made a decision about whether they are going to long term do business with us. 90 seconds. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And,
Well, I've
it's
been there. I
sure.
walked into a practice, it was probably 19 years ago, and it was a healthcare practice, and I had an appointment as a patient.
Hmm.
And I walked in and I saw folders stacked everywhere.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, we're not talking 10 or 15. We're talking probably 200.
Hmm.
And I never went back
Right. Because what
because
was
I
the
was going
message that sent?
right. Yeah.
What was that
Yeah.
message? It said to you, they don't have their act together. Things will fall through the cracks. If my folder is on the bottom of that pile, they will never call me. They will never get
Right.
back to me with my results. They'll never file that insurance
Right.
claim. That's what that message sent to you.
What do
Very,
you
very
think the
loud and clear.
message what do you think the message sticky notes send?
Same thing, right? Sticky notes are the worst. And it's literally, I know you read through that ebook. It's one that I call out specifically. How many sticky notes do
Yeah.
you see when you're standing at the reception counter as a patient? How many sticky notes do you see? Okay, now move over to the walkout counter, which is a different view of the same desk. Now, how many sticky notes do you see? Sticky notes oftentimes have patient information on them, so that's a HIPAA violation. And they are a terrible indicator, or an excellent indicator of the organization of the person sitting at that desk. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just
Yeah,
that
I think
flat
so
out,
too.
that's the message.
It's
And
it's
because there's so many other ways to be organized, that is, you know, I mean, if a sticky note is on your desk longer than a day, there's a problem. So,
Yeah, I
you
don't
know,
particularly use sticky notes. Sometimes if I'm reading
mm-hmm,
something or and I wanna make a
sure,
note, I'll use a sticky note, to mark
sure,
that page. But,
sure.
yeah, I just because I don't really like them,
Yeah, yeah,
cluttering. To me, it's
right,
a clutter. But
right.
another thing that you
Absolutely.
talk about is another thing you talk about is updating the decor.
Yes. Yes.
So,
And that's so important. I have looking at websites. This is one of my favorite things to do is to just, I sit on my computer and I look on Pinterest and I look at people's, I'll Google dental office images, dental office reception area. And people will post pictures, and oftentimes pictures will come either on Pinterest or on Google Images. And they're pictures that people have on their website under the tour our office, because every website has it, right? So we're
right.
going to see pictures of your practice. My favorite one, and I actually have taken this one, I don't share the name of the practice. I can tell you it's in the Northeast. They have a great logo. They clearly have a lot of technology in their office. The name of the business is Dr. Fantastic's Modern Dentistry, whatever Dr. Fantastic's name is. I just insert Fantastic.
Right.
It's Modern Dentistry. But the first picture that you see is of their reception area, and it looks like grandma's living room. There is, which,
it's not modern.
they're very proud of the fact, that it looks like a living room. And I am 1,000% on board with that, because that brings comfort and calm, right? However, It looks like grandma's living room. That does not send a message to me as a patient that you are modern and that you have all this technology.
Right.
And there were file charts, or chart cabinets, I should say, chart cabinets around. There was like one picture of a computer, no pictures of their fantastic technology. And they had good technology. I mean, really nice technology, but there was no pictures of that. It had it was a wreath on the front door. So on the inside of the reception area, it's a wreath on the front door that is one of those grapevine wreaths with flowers, kind of, fake flowers along the bottom. But it clearly had seen better days. And it looked like it had been made in the 90s. And I'm telling you, it sent the absolute opposite message of modern dentistry. And so,
if that's the first impression.
Yes, absolutely. And so thinking along those lines, you have to think about, what is the message? Is my decor congruent with the branding that I want patients to know about and that I'm spending money on marketing about? Is it congruent with my dental philosophy? So another example that I show in my lectures is a beautiful office that really the before is not bad. It's very lovely. It's a little dated, but not terrible. I've seen a lot worse. And in the after photo, they did nothing to the walls. It's the same carpet. They replaced a couple pieces of artwork. But one of the biggest things that was the tell for me about what their branding was is that they had brought in a beautiful glass coffee table. So it was very modern, and it was glass. And no wood. It was just like one of those curved, bended. I don't know how to describe it. It was just all glass, sides, everything, right? Which tells me right off the bat, this is not a family dental practice, because no mother is going to take her kids in to an office, right? And I was right. The branding of that practice was cosmetic dentistry, right? Which oftentimes has a higher end clientele, less family, and more geared toward high end aesthetics, right? And so, and that was very much what they were branding, what they were putting out there. So, I mean, simple things like that can really, really bring attention to your branding. And that's all stuff I kind of speak to that in my ebook. But, and we just briefly mentioned that, but could we go back to the ebook briefly?
Yeah.
Great. So I wrote an exercise. I did this exercise with multiple clients over the years with my practice management, because I was a consultant with another company before I started my company. So I've been a consultant for about 10 years now. And there was an exercise that I did frequently, and it was so well received. Teams loved it. Doctors loved it. I got so much positive feedback on it. I thought, gosh, this would be something to share with everybody, right? And so I wrote an ebook. It's called If These Walls Could Talk. And definitely you can download that from my website. So I'll explain how to do that. But it's based on broken windows theory, which is, goes in and out of favor.
I wanted you to tell that story. So
sure.
Good.
Sure. It goes in and out of favor, broken windows theory, and I won't bore you with the actual history of it, but essentially the premise of it is that if a business has a small problem, something that isn't working right, like a leaky faucet or a light bulb that's out, that is loosely termed a broken window. And when that broken window when a patient sees that broken window, it's an indicator to them that there are bigger problems in the business because clearly we can't be bothered to fix this small thing. That's the message. Whether it's true or not, that's the message. So the example that I like to give, because I've done it so many times and so many people can relate to it, is I love to take road trips, right? I like to drive.
Right.
I used to drive a lot for work, not so much anymore, but and if I needed to use the restroom, because it seems like no matter what, I always had to stop to use the restroom.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't like gas stations other than Buc-ee's here in Texas. I won't stop at a gas station restroom. Typically what I would do is I would stop at a restaurant, usually fast food. And because I'm a good patron, I will use the restroom or buy something if I'm going to use the restroom, right? So I go in, I use the restroom. And if I walk into the restroom and there's trash everywhere and, the sink's all wet and the soap dispenser has been leaking on the counter and, a commode is blocked or whatever, right? If it clearly needs attention, automatically, where does my brain go about the kitchen?
Right. Yeah.
Of course.
No kidding.
Of course, it's an automatic that your brain assumes that the kitchen gets about as much attention as the restroom does because the employees use that same restroom. And so if the employees are using that restroom and leaving it that way, then clearly they don't care enough to keep the kitchen up. And whether that's true or not, that's the assumption as a patron. And it's the same thing in our business.
No, but I guarantee you, we have all felt that way.
100%.
I have. Oh, yeah. I've done that. It's like,
for sure.
No, not eating here.
Right. Exactly. So the premise is the same. So when we're going through the ebook, again, If These Walls Could Talk, it's not long. It's only about 15 pages. And that includes it's the whole exercise. So it's the history, where that came from, how it came to be. It's the journey. So starting in the parking lot and looking at the entire parking lot as a patient because they don't know if you own that parking lot or not. So they're judging you. And what is it? What are the things that they're looking at when they come into reception? And what are the things that they're looking at when they're sitting in the treatment room? And it's all the clutter and the old artwork and the stained ceiling tiles. Every single office that has a drop ceiling, I have yet to be in one. Not even one, Susan. And in the hundreds of offices that I've been in over the years, not a single one doesn't have a stained ceiling tile somewhere.
Oh,
somewhere.
Yeah.
Every one of them. Yeah. Right. And so, but if we don't take care of that right away, that's sending a message to our patient that we don't care. And so,
and I'll tell you, this book is so packed full of information.
Oh, thank you.
It is geared. Oh yeah. It was like, oh my gosh. But I found myself, I know you geared it towards dentistry.
Of course.
But I found myself going, okay.
Everybody
in fact,
can
I
use
sent you
this.
you need to write a book for the same premise and make it for small businesses. Because if you have any kind of a office front, if you will, where you see clients, you need to look at that information, just translate it. Yes, it's for dentistry, but look at it and say, okay, I mean, really, seriously, Andrea, even people that come to our houses.
Oh,
what
absolutely.
are the message we're giving when they see the disrupt and, stuff that is taken care of?
And so many of us, our homes are on camera now.
Oh, yeah.
And it's exactly the same idea.
I walked past something this morning and went, okay, seriously, Susan, this has been sitting here for like 4 months. You should move it now and put it where it's supposed to go. And, it's just, life gets busy and we kind of we procrastinate. We just, that needs to be a whole nother podcast.
Right?
Yeah.
Stop seeing it. So the book has the forms, it has some solutions, it has the whole journey, it gives you a lot of information. To get that book, people can go to my website, which is www.onpointspace, all spelled out, onpointspace.com, onpointspace.com. And if you scroll down just a tiny bit, there's a button right in the middle that says request our ebook. And that will take you to the download button, and you can download that exercise.
Wow, that's
And it,
awesome.
yeah, absolutely. And that's, of course, free. I definitely would love for everybody to do it. And I have yet
Well,
to have anybody that says, it was all right.
no, I found it was like, "Oh my gosh, okay, I can pull this out, I could do this." And I
Mm-hmm.
know that you've hit a nerve with quite a few of the listeners. There's some that just really wanna get started and to
Mm-hmm.
do something about it. And I know that you've got a phenomenal online course. Tell us
Mm-hmm.
about that.
Sure. Thank you. So my online course is actually not geared toward dentistry at all. It's for for people who have a home office that they're trying to work in and have found themselves frustrated because it's too cluttered, too much stuff. It's dark. It doesn't feel good to be in there. And oftentimes, if you find yourself, let me challenge this: if you find yourself working out in your dining room because you can think better out there, this is a great course for you because it will talk to you about why you're feeling that way. It will help you understand why you're feeling that way and then help you to resolve that. So it's a 5-week online course. If you choose to buy the course itself, it has a bunch of downloads, several ebooks. There's a ton of stuff to support it. And for the Sapphire package, the Sapphire level, it includes some one-on-one coaching time with me. So you get an additional 6 hours, whether that is designing stuff, if it's coaching through the sort, if it's coaching through how to organize or floor plan or anything. So the course will take you everything from, a deep dive into the pare down system that I mentioned earlier. It's a deep dive into that, all the way through time management and project management and moving your furniture around, and then finally decorating your office so that it feels really good. Because if your home office or the office that you work in does not inspire happiness and joy and make you smile and make you say, I love coming into my office every day, then you could use this course, right?
Yeah.
You can improve that. Brian Tracy he's a great author, and he writes a lot of little, more geared towards sales books, but he wrote a really good little short read called Eat That Frog. That's great. And it's all about procrastination and how to overcome procrastination. And one of the things that he says in that book, and I quote it a lot, is the most productive people, not just all productive, but the most productive people will take the time to create a space that they enjoy working in and that they enjoy being in. Because that's when your creative brain is opened up and has the freedom to play and really move around and have the room it needs to be able to come up with those creative solutions that you need to bring to your clients. So
So
it's
one of the books I've read, I wanted to
mhm.
say that too with the talking about procrastination because I got it. Hi, my name is Susan. I am a procrastinator. And I get that and I know it and I'll own it. But I heard Rory Vaden speak,
Mm, mhm,
Roryvaden. It's amazing. He
mm,
addressed procrastination like crazy. He's got 2 books that I read that were his. You could look them up, but
mhm.
just to throw that out there, because I know a lot of
Sure,
people like to read books. So
sure,
one of
sure.
them is called Take the Stairs, which I think you read too, didn't you? Take the Stairs?
It's on my list. You had
Yeah.
made me aware of that book, and it's definitely on my list.
Yeah, it's a really good it's challenging. It's a
Mm.
really good book. So, anyways, your online course website. because it's different.
It's different. It's not part of my On Point space. I mean, it's produced by, but the online course is called Create Your Best Space. And the
.com.
website, I'm sorry? Well,
CreateYourBestSpace.com.
that's the website. So the course is called, that's the name of the actual course, is Create Your Best Space. And then the website is createyourbestspace.com. Yes.
Awesome. Cool. Well,
For sure.
I would definitely encourage you that if you have found yourself in some of the situations that we've talked about during our time together, that you would seek her out and look through all the information that's there and see what can best suit you. It will be a great investment, just like we were talking about before. You have to invest time and resources to help you figure things out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that would be a really good way to spend your time and your resources.
Mm-hmm.
Organizing your financial information is my bailiwick.
Right.
So I defer all the practical, tangible office information to Andrea. So we're both kind of on that same path. It's just that my
Mm-hmm.
office is a little bit of a mess now, but it's getting
But
there.
you're getting there. It always gets worse
Well,
before it gets better.
I will tell you, my digital information is extremely organized.
That's great.
So, but it's just that outside stuff, which is why the
Sure.
outside stuff got to be such a mess.
Sure.
But that's a different story.
Sure.
I This has been great information, but
Wonderful.
and I didn't talk to you about this ahead of time,
That's okay.
but you mentioned it. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to go there.
Okay.
So Andrea is a cancer survivor,
Mm-hmm.
and she is a warrior. When I think of warrior, she is my warrior friend. In fact, we did several warrior poses together in the midst of the
Treatment. Mm-hmm.
whole treatment and everything that you were going through.
Mm-hmm.
And you just had another office visit and was
Yes.
deemed.
Yes, I am still in remission, 4 years now, in remission. So I'm right. But I would be 4 years ago. I was right in the middle of all of my treatment. I had just had surgery, and I was facing some more chemo. And it was a brutal year, but I made it through. And
You did.
yeah, it's been good. It was a hard time for sure, but I was so blessed in that I had so much love and support surrounding me all the time, and so it's a memory now, and I'm so
Yeah.
grateful.
Well, and I've thought so many different times in the midst of this pandemic, in the midst of being shut down and having the hospitals kind of
Oh,
realign their resources, and the nurses and the doctors having to focus most of their attention on
mm-hmm,
trying to figure things out and to
mm-hmm,
know what do they do and not really knowing, and some
mm-hmm,
things not working and losing patients, and
mm-hmm.
their hearts just broken. I know that we
Yes.
are going to have huge amounts of PTSD from all of this,
Oh,
and
tremendous. Even from
I
people who didn't, you know, weren't sick or didn't know anyone that was sick. Just I think I'm going to have PTSD because I consider myself an extroverted introvert. And so I like my alone time, but I
yeah,
need to be around people, and I live by myself.
yeah.
And so I saw nobody for weeks, much like many of people. I'm not saying I'm alone and feel sorry for me, but I am fully prepared that it's going to be very difficult getting past it. So,
I will say that when a nurse put a blood pressure cup on me, I said, "Oh, wow, that's the first time somebody's touched me in 3
uh-huh.
months." And
Yep.
she just looked at me and I went, "Live alone." I mean, I have my nephew, but
Yes.
it's
Right.
like,
It's
it's
true.
kinda
It's
nice.
true.
Yeah, it
The first
is.
time I got a hug, I cried for about 4 minutes.
Oh,
I mean, it was
wow.
just, it's hard. It's hard.
Well, and I know that there's so many warriors out there. I always try to close with something encouraging, and I feel there are so many people right now that are struggling with cancer,
Hmm.
that in the midst of the pandemic, as if that isn't frightening enough,
Hmm.
I'm sure that their thoughts are, "Oh my gosh, if I get sick, what happens?"
Hmm.
And so we just want you to know that we're sending virtual hugs to you
Mm-hmm.
and that you are not in this alone. Andrea
That's
was
right.
on the video that we did, a group of consultants
Mm-hmm.
that we created, and saying we are all in this together. And I truly still, that message is still so prevalent. We are in all this together. We will
Mm-hmm.
survive as friends and colleagues and clients and our society and our family and our friends. We will survive this because we are in it together. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's we need to have that mentality anyway, that we have to be um, we have to be that way to help each other. In fact, I watched this morning on CBS had a special about one guy that owned a boat in a rural. I mean, most of Alaska is rural,
Mm-hmm.
Alaska, and he took his boat and went 14 hours to Juneau to get supplies to bring it back
Oh,
because they have no other way to get supplies because it's been cut off. The ferries have stopped running
oh my
because of the
goodness.
pandemic. And so, I mean, but he said, "They're my friends and my neighbors, so I will do what I need to do." And
Oh,
that is what we need to still have that
yes.
mentality. Yes, it's different, and yes, I mean, as I sit in my house, um, there is somebody losing their life in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I mean, that's the reality, right? I mean, from the pandemic or from some other cause.
Mm-hmm.
But we are still all in this together, and whatever Andrea and I can do to help you. I've had people call me that just said, "I just need to talk to you,"
Yes.
and we talk.
Yeah.
So
I've had some
I'm okay with that.
I've had more long, deep conversations with friends and colleagues in the last 3 months than I've had in years,
Yeah,
because it's really brought home how much we connect just by being around each other on a day-to-day basis, on a regular, or even not even day-to-day, just regular basis. And since we don't have that,
right.
um, it's important. It's important, and that part of it has been a blessing for sure.
Well, and I don't want anyone to feel that they are alone,
That's right.
because you are not alone.
That's right.
And so if you feel that way, we know we've had suicides in
Mm-hmm.
dentistry,
Mm-hmm.
and it breaks our heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so we never want you to feel that your life is hopeless to that point,
Mm-hmm.
ever. And so please reach out to someone if you are feeling that way, because life is not hopeless. In fact, it's
Mm-hmm.
hope filled. Um, but we just want to love on you, even though it's virtually. We want
Mm-hmm.
to leave that message with you. So, but not to feel um, overpowered by the message that we initially brought to you, that we want you to help. We want to help you organize your space, your
Mm-hmm.
workspace.
Mm-hmm.
There's hope in that too. There
Sure.
is hope. I'm making progress.
That's
There is
right.
hope.
That's right.
Anyways, Andrea, thank you so much for being my guest today. It
Oh,
has
thank
been so
you.
much fun. It's always fun to have my friends on here that I also get to call colleagues. Or is it
Mm-hmm.
the other way around? Colleagues that I also get to call friends. But
Mm,
it's
I
always
think I
fun to
like
have.
friends that we happen to be colleagues.
Yeah, we do. We do. We've known each other a long time too.
Long
So,
time. Mm-hmm.
anyways, but thank you for joining me today. Again, your primary website is,
My primary website is onpointspace.com, and that's where
and
the ebook is. Mm-hmm.
the online course is.
And the online course is createyourbestspace.com.
And as usual, if you want to get hold of me, you can call me at 888-994-3167, or you can go to my website, susangunnsolutions.com. Anyways, you guys have a great day and the rest of the week, and please take care of yourself out there.
That's a wrap for this podcast of Money In, Money Out. Thanks for listening. Be sure to write down the most valuable tip you learned today so you don't forget it. And remember, you can find out more about all the valuable books and services Susan has to offer at www.susangunnsolutions.com.